we are joined by the managing editor of Broad Street Hockey and PHLY's own AHL correspondent. It is Maddie Campbell with us today. How's it going today, Maddie?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We are doing well. We are enjoying this little Olympic break that our Flyers are on. The AHL, of course, they have like an all-star break, sorta. They're off a little bit,
Yeah.
but obviously they will continue to play games over this Olympic break. And I thought now is a great time to check in with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. We see them. I checked the standings today. They're 21-20-2. They're fifth in the Atlantic, 1 point up on Bridgeport for that sixth and final playoff spot in the division. I guess just to start, how have you seen the team adjust and hopefully improve under first-year head coach John Snowden? How different are they as a team compared to the last couple years under Lappy?
I would say generally they're playing a lot more structured. It's still been, they haven't been perfect. They have a lot of first and second year pros. They've had a lot of injuries, so like things tend to get a little weird with that. But on the whole, I think they've been a lot more settled, um, getting more players involved up and down the lineup. Um, and yeah, I feel better about the team at this point in the year than I did last year. So
That's
that's a
something
step in
I
the right
noticed,
direction.
something I know, Lane Peterson, Anthony Richard, they're having good seasons, but it doesn't feel like there's just one or two guys at the top carrying it. No one has amazing stats, but it does seem as if it's pretty well spread out. And I think that's a pretty good sign. They're not just leaning on, oh yeah, we have these 28-year-olds who are like really good AHL players, that they're getting some more guys involved.
Yeah, and I think sort of middle of the road team is what I expected from them. It's been a little lopsided this season, like how they've gotten to this point, but I'm okay with how things are going.
That's
Yeah,
excellent to hear.
definitely. Maddie, want to jump in here and talk to you about Alex Bump. I actually just finished an interview with Brent Flair for our upcoming prospect piece for next week. Talked to him a little bit about Bump. He confirmed that Bump is expected to return to action this weekend. But in terms of what you've seen from him, prior to these last 2 months when he's mostly been out due to injury, what did you like about his play, and how close did he look prior to these injuries hitting to being NHL ready to you?
I think it was definitely going to be still a little bit longer before I felt comfortable saying like he's definitely ready for the call. The fact that Barkey got called up before him was not super a surprise to me. Um, but it's been maybe more than we would have expected, kind of required an overhaul of how he's approaching generating offense at this level. You kind of look at what he was able to do at the college level. He definitely took on more of a volume shooter role, which makes sense. His shot's so good, he could beat college goalies from kind of anywhere on the ice, it looked like. Now he graduates up, goalies are a lot better, and he's having to be a little bit more selective. He can't get away with that to the same degree, and it's been a little bit of a struggle for him. It seems like when things are going particularly, I don't want to say bad for him, but when they're at their most challenging, they've spiraled a little bit where he has kind of leaned on, again, like he gets a couple games where bounces aren't really going his way, but he's getting good chances. Now it's like, I'm just going to start shooting from everywhere. Something has to go for me eventually. And then it's like, he's really not getting the bounces to go for him because the shot selection's kind of fallen off a cliff.
All right, Maddie. So it sounds like Alex Bump, he just needs to mature his game a little bit. You said it wasn't a surprise that Denver Barkey had jumped him. You get to watch more than I do. Just looking at the points production, it was like, oh, that's an interesting call. And then, of course, Bump gets hurt right after that. What do you think he has to do to be the next one called up now that Barkey has kind of solidified a spot, at least for the time being?
Yeah, I think it's going to be just kind of a matter of getting to a point where getting interior for his chances, looking for some better shot selection rather than just kind of shooting from anywhere on the ice and hoping it goes for him, to get to the point where that's automatic for him, because it's been a little bit up and down for him so far. Um, I don't want to sound too negative, because I think he's had stretches where he's been more consistent in doing that, and he's looked really, really good. But it's a big ask to really reframe your whole approach at this next level. So I think he's going to get there eventually. I have a lot of faith in the player and in the coaching staff down there that they can get him to where he needs to be. But it's just going to take a little bit more time, I think.
All right, maybe the guy other than Bump I am most interested in, it's Hunter McDonald, Maddie. He got a brief call-up, but never actually dressed for the Flyers. How has the behemoth defenseman been coming around?
Yeah, it's been. Listen, I know we talked about it a bunch last year. The rookie year was not great for him, and I think the beginning of this season was still a little bit rough. He was kind of still figuring out what he's supposed to be doing within the new structure that they're running. Still was having some issues with discipline, where it seemed like they'd get into a scrum after the whistle and he just sees red and has to cross check somebody in the neck. And yeah, that's going to
I'm
get
not
you,
against it.
that's going to get you called every time, though. So that's, when you're more consistently putting your team at a disadvantage, that's a problem. But I think steadily he's been improving. He's figuring out, you can bark at guys after the whistle as much as you want, but as long as you're not crossing the line, you're golden. So that's been nice to see. But generally, I think his play's been stabilizing a lot more. I think he's been not super noticeable to me in exactly the way that you want to see from a player that plays a style that he does. So I think still a little bit of a weird position where it seems like Murchison has jumped him in the pecking order. So I don't really know broadly where he stands, but I give him a lot of credit for the progress that he's made between last year and this year.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, like this will all come out when I do the interview with Brent Flair, but I can tell you that the Flyers basically share your sentiments, Maddie, in that they did not like his camp, they did not like his start of the season, they were getting worried about his progression, and they feel like over these last couple of months he's really gotten back on track and is now back on a trajectory where they think that he can be, an NHL caliber, third pair shutdown defenseman. It probably also helps his path a little bit that Ty Murchison's out for the rest of the year. So that gives him, the prime minutes in that role that he's going to fill if he makes it. But another guy who got off to a not great start through things completely out of his control, Oliver Bonk. He missed the first 2 months due to injury, got started with his pro career in Lehigh Valley in December. What have you seen from him so far? Because obviously he is, especially now with Barkey up, you could make a case he is the top prospect that the Flyers have down in Lehigh Valley right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it definitely took him a little bit of time to ramp up. I mean, that was a lot of games that he missed. But I've liked what I've seen from him so far. It's been fun since they've had so many guys missing that they were playing him in the bumper spot on the power play for a little bit, which is just great content. You love to see that. But overall, I think
How
he's
did it
getting.
go?
It was good. They've actually moved him out of that spot up to the point again on that second unit, and it hasn't been as good. So
Okay.
maybe go back to it. I don't know.
Maybe he can just do it. Who knows?
Maybe. But yeah, that's, I guess, like I said, when you're missing as many guys as they were for a while there, you're doing whatever. But away from that, he's been getting a lot of usage, and I really don't super have any complaints. I think he's been almost surprisingly poised, both with and without the puck so far. Yeah, I'm still waiting for him to pick up the pace a little bit. I think that was one of the bigger, I don't want to say concerns, but areas for improvement heading into the season. He's still definitely ramping up in that area, but from when he first started back in December to now, I've already noticed an improvement. So pleased with that for sure.
And that's something we heard about both London guys. One, the OHL, just more of an East-West league than, the AHL is. It's a big step up. And London in particular, the last couple of years, that's a freaking all-star team out there. They were able to just slow it down and circle back. And yeah, we have our defenseman in the bumper and he's putting up huge point totals, but as they step up in competition, there was going to have to be adjustments made. And Barkey seems to have done it quickly. And Oliver Bonk started behind the eight ball because the season didn't start till December 6th. So I'm glad to hear he's picking it up already. Someone who I just feel like we have heard absolutely nothing about, Maddie, is LJ Grans. He got a brief look in the NHL last season. He looked pretty serviceable. He's got the size we know that Briere and Jones want. He's like 6'2", over 200 pounds. But he's going to be 24 in a few months. We've seen other names jump him. Murchison, Bonk, McDonald. And now it's just kind of looking like, is he going the way of Tuamala, Sampson, Ronnie Addard? Has he fallen out of favor to that regard?
It does kind of feel that way. And, I really do feel for him because I also thought he looked perfectly cromulent in his NHL time last season. And he definitely seemed like he had the inside track on a job with the Flyers to start the season, with Ristolainen being out for a bit still. But then he had a not very good camp, and still credit to him. He came down. I think he's been largely very solid for the Phantoms, but then it was like Ristolainen gets dinged up again. They had one game where Flair was down, and I would assume was sort of evaluating the remaining options for a call-up, and he had his worst game of the season.
Ooh.
And McDonald gets called up. So
Yeah.
it's a tough one. And I still think he could be an option, like in a vacuum, but he's running out of chances here. And I wouldn't be surprised if, in the off season, we see them look for a change of scenery for him.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. And it just, from an outsider's perspective, it just seems like this past training camp was his chance.
Yeah.
That was his chance. Risto was out for a while. He kind of seemed like he entered camp with a leg up on everyone, and he just kind of fell flat on his face. And when you're that kind of bubble prospect who, if he makes it, is going to be a third pair guy, bottom of the lineup guy, you can't waste those opportunities when they come around. Just kind of wondering if he did. But two guys who were getting big opportunities this year at the goalie position for the Phantoms. You have Aleksei Kolosov, who is seemingly now okay with being in Lehigh Valley, and you've got Carson Bjarnason, who is making his first season pro debut. How have those two guys performed so far this year?
I would say both of them started out really well. They've both definitely kind of tapered off recently, and for different reasons. Kolosov was up for a while, and Bjarnason was playing a ton. It definitely seemed like he, over the last week or so, it was kind of hitting him like he was wearing down. Just definitely didn't really look as sharp as he did earlier in the year. So hopefully having a week off gives him a chance to rest a little bit and reset. But overall, I would say he's been good. Kolosov, too, has been, I thought his last two games were not very good. And I'm wondering if that's kind of running into the same thing that they did with him last year, where he sits for a while and he loses a lot of sharpness, and it's going to take him a little while to get back to that. But even so, there are some, I would say, focus issues, attention to detail issues that have continued to pop up for me with him that are a little bit concerning. We've seen him work through them through long stretches so far this season, but it's just every time he has a game where he sort of like is getting a lot of shots by him from a distance, or just looks a little all over the place, I start to worry.
And that's something we've both noticed, I think, with Coley in the NHL. Clearly has talent, clearly athletic, and sometimes I'll just see him get beat, and I'm like, but what were you looking at? Why weren't you square? You're like facing the wrong direction. Like
Yeah,
your
and
your angle was here and you were in the middle. Like it's just little stuff like that. But that's why he needed AHL time and he learned that pretty fast. Maddie, just to wrap up here, we're very appreciative of your time. Our fans have been asking, can we get, especially during this losing the Flyers have been doing, like, can someone tell us about the freaking Phantoms? So we are very happy you were able to oblige today. Christian Kyrou was an addition made in season, came in super hot, put up some points, went through a lull. Now it looks like he's back to scoring pretty consistently again. We've all, like, when we've watched the rookie games, Aleksei Gendron looks really, really fun. And you look at the stat line, it's Are there any under the radar guys, anyone else who's been standing out this year?
I think Kyrou has definitely been the biggest standout. It's been sort of a weird but very tidy progression through the season where first 12 games he was outstanding. He goes 12 games without a point, and now the most recent 12 games he's back to producing nicely again. Um, I think when you average it all out, he's still having his most productive season of his career. So, you're looking for a little bit more game over game consistency, maybe, but he's been, I would say, on the whole, quite solid for them, especially now he's getting more consistent usage since they are missing some guys on the back end. But he's also been a big boost to that power play. He's on the first unit, quarterbacking that, and he's been outstanding. So, still kind of don't know where he stands big picture of the organization, because do they need another sort of undersized middling speed guy? But I would say at the very least, he was looking for a boost in the change of scenery trade, and it couldn't have gone better for him.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Maddie. Let the people know where to find your work, and we can all get out of here.
Just tune in over at PHLY over at Broad Street Hockey. Don't look for me on the socials. I'm not really on there. Where the content is. That's what matters.
Good move.
Yeah, that is the smart move. All right, that is Madeline Campbell, managing editor of Broad Street Hockey and our own AHL and prospect correspondent. I am Bill Matz. That is Charlie O'Connor. Thanks as always to Brenna. Be excellent to each other.